to another episode of the BRSTEM Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Lewis, founder and executive of Baton Rouge STEM. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we will be doing this from time to time in our solo episodes, kind of sharing some insights on the work that we do as Baton Rouge STEM. And so today our topic is going to be about chemistry. The last couple of weeks, our team has been out in the community at the various schools that we partner with, exposing young people to chemical reactions. The topic of our workshop is chemical reactions. And so over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've had young people at various schools around the Baton Rouge community who've really had an exciting time learning about chemical reactions, learning about chemistry, and even how it's relevant or present in their everyday lives. And so in this episode, we just want to share some insights on why it's important to expose our young people at an early age to not only chemistry, but just to the various fields within STEM. And so I'll share one of the actual activities that we've done. We'll talk about the experiences that our team has had working with students in our community, and then share some upcoming events where you can bring your kids out so they can enjoy and so they can take part in the fun that we've been having. And so we live in a community here in Baton Rouge that historically one of our biggest industries has been the petrochemical industry. And so actually ExxonMobil is one of our sponsors of our upcoming community events. And so we obviously want to be able to ensure that our young people have an opportunity to take advantage economically of the opportunities that present themselves from it. But as most of us know, it really is not just the petrochemical industry. A lot of us have aspirations for our children to become doctors. And so there's many other different ways, whether it's pharmacists, actual chemists, to utilize early learning in the field of chemistry. And I think the other thing that's important, which I know many of us have probably experienced ourselves, which again, we actually saw a lot out in the field last couple of weeks going into schools, is that oftentimes there's a fear about chemistry, or it's, people think it's too hard, and not to say that it's not a hard subject, but the reality is that if we can expose our children to it at a younger age, make it relatable, I think it becomes more accessible for them. Even myself, as an engineer, I was fearful. Our chemistry teacher at Glen Oaks High School was Miss Tessimer, and so, I had fears about taking a class. But I think it's also important, if our children aspire to major in STEM fields, that we start them off with at an early age, kind of taking away that fear and misconceptions. Because the reality is that the more of these classes that they can take in high school, their pathway in college can be much more seamless. And so definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of the upcoming community opportunities that we will have on February 14th and February 21st, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And so I think one of the things that we also want to kind of talk a little bit about is how do we make this, again, much more accessible, much more fun for our kids, even at home. And so the reality is that in this environment that we operate in from an educational space, sometimes kids may not necessarily get to do as many hands-on experiments as some of us may have done as we were growing up. And so with state testing and all these different requirements that we have in place with our education system, so there's a lot of things that sometimes they may not get to experience. And so that's part of the reason why Baton Rouge STEM exists. But I also want to share ways that, you can create opportunities for kids to do this at home at a very economical way. And so what I want to suggest to you is you can create, let's just call it a kitchen table lab for your kids. So a kitchen table lab. And so what that would look like is really teaching them, exposing them at an early age about what a chemist actually does. And so I think this also will help them in their school experience or their academic experience. And so we can do this for a very economical price. I would say like a $20 investment. You can set up your own lab using household products that, again, which we will share with you today on ways that you can do this or processes to put in place. But to really kind of create a home-based lab for your child. And so just a few things that we want to kind of gather up. You can get a notebook that your kids can keep. which again will help them with their writing. They can journal the activities that they're doing, and then they can look back on it later years to kind of see their own progress. So you want to get your child a spiral, very inexpensive spiral notebook from the dollar store. You can get your child a pair of goggles, which all chemists and scientists should have anyway. And so you can gather these from like the hardware store for a very, very low price. You can go to the dollar store because for a lot of our chemistry activities, we're going to be using plastic bottles, which we can recycle. And then these will take the place of beakers as an example. So some plastic bottles. For this activity in particular, we're going to be using a vegetable oil. And obviously we don't want you to get your kitchen messed up. And so either, you can use trash bags, open up some trash bags, spread across the table. In the classrooms, we've been using these paper plates. And so to sit the experiment on rather than mess up the desk at the school or your table in your kitchen. And then the activity that we're going to demonstrate is called a lava lamp. And so the additional supplies, and you're going to actually use some of these for some of our other chemistry experiments that you'll learn about at our community event. So some Alka-Seltzer tablets and then food coloring. All right. Now, so I'm going to kind of walk through this particular demonstration. And then on the back end of that, we'll talk through kind of the benefits and how it relates to things that our students are going to need to know down the road as they matriculate through school. What's up, Roots and Wings family? We talk a lot on this show about giving our youth the roots to stay grounded and the wings to fly toward a college degree. Well, this February, we're adding a little bit of fuel to that fire. Most people think that chemistry is just something you suffer through in high school textbooks. But I'm here to tell you, chemistry is power. It's the energy in a game-winning sprint, the fuel in a rocket, and the secret behind the world's most advanced tech. And we want our young leaders to have their hands on it. We are officially kicking off our Saturday STEM sessions, Chemical Reactions Edition. We're getting out of the classroom and into the community to show our kids that they don't have to wait to college to start thinking like scientists. Saturday, February 14th, we'll be at the Cadillac Street Park. Saturday, February 21st, we're taking the lab to North Street. Both sessions are about hands-on, high-energy science. We're talking about exothermic reactions, molecular bonds, and things that go boom, safely, of course. But here's the thing, this isn't just playtime. When your student joins us at the park, they aren't just kids at a park. They are junior engineers. They are future doctors. They are the leaders who are going to solve the energy and health crisis of the next generation. We're building a mindset today that gets them the scholarships tomorrow. If you want your child to see themselves as a leader in STEM, you need to be there. Cadillac Street Park on the 14th, North Street on the 21st. Let's show them that their potential is limitless and their future is bright. Okay, we're back. I had to go ahead and make sure I had my goggles on to set an example for our young people. So again, we're always thinking about safety when we're doing our chemistry experiments or any of our STEM activities. We try to make sure we are focused on safety. And so make sure that we have our goggles on. And so we have an empty water bottle that's going to serve as our beaker, which we would normally use in a chemistry activity. And so as I mentioned, for this activity, we're going to use Alka-Seltzer tablets, food coloring, we're actually going to need water, and then we're going to use vegetable oil. So the first thing that we do during this activity is we're going to pour some vegetable oil into our bottle. All right, and so it's about 1/16 of the cup. 1/16 of the bottle. And then next thing we'll do is we're not going to fill it all the way up, but we will go for this particular bottle that we're using. I'm going to go right at this top section. Okay. And so it's a little bit over half the bottle of water. We don't want to fill it all the way up because you'll notice that after you see what's going to happen, you'll understand why we want to fill it all the way up. But one of the things, observations that you should be able to make, and you'll notice that for some strange reason, the water sank to the bottom and then the oil floated to the top. And so if your child is watching this with you, you should ask them, why do you think the water sunk to the bottom and the oil floated to the top? I'm not going to give that away, but I think that's a good conversation piece for you and your child. All right, so the next thing is we'll add 8 drops of food coloring. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so you may also notice that initially the food coloring will sit at the top when you put the drops in, and then slowly it'll start finding its way to the bottom as well, which is another conversation. It's a great conversation that you and your child can have when doing this activity. All right. So again, this is a lava lamp experiment. And so what we're going to do to get that lighting effect, you can take a cell phone, have a small flashlight as well that you can use to illuminate the bottle. So just gently place your bottle on top of your cell phone light, which kind of gives a cool effect. But that is not the end of the activity. And so I'm going to add the Alka-Seltzer tablets and then watch what we find. So if you open up the Alka-Seltzer tablets, here's another one, Karen. So in this activity, we'll always try to add some math into all of our activities. So with state testing coming up, maybe you want to ask your child, if they break a tablet in half and then break both of those pieces in half, ask them as a fraction or a mixed number to explain what they see as a fraction or a mixed number. All right, and so we want to go ahead and break it all up in pieces. And then if we drop the pieces, you can drop them one at a time because it's a lot easier to see the effect. And you can probably even go slower than I'm going. And then watch what starts to happen with your mixture. So you can see the lava lamp effect taking place. Now, I think that's pretty cool. All right, so that's one of 3 basic chemistry activities that we've done over the last couple of weeks with many of the schools that we partner with, and it'll be one of the activities among several that we'll be doing on February 14th and February 21st at our Saturday STEM sessions. And so again, like this is something that you can do with your child at home. I really don't see like this particular activity in of itself, costing more than $3 to $4 to do, but it kind of creates that wow effect. And again, I threw out some questions for conversation or discussion that you can have with your child. It's a great learning opportunity. I mentioned earlier how we can utilize this, prepare our children for the future. So if your child, desires to say be a doctor or be a pharmacist or be a chemist or a chemical engineer, these are practices that they can start off at an early age, preparing them through high school, into college, and then working as a professional in some of the practices that they want to build up and maintain. It helps with their ability to discover, to inquire, to be inquisitive, and then you actually see something come to life for them versus in addition to what they talk about in their classrooms. So I would encourage you, if you can, to just kind of take advantage and work on trying to create your own kitchen lab for your child. Again, there are a number of different chemistry activities that you can find online that coming out to our events that we'll share with you that your children can practice at times when they're out of school. Like we had the recent extreme weather conditions. And so sitting at home, I think it'd be a fun activity that you can do along with your child. So I want to go back to what I was sharing earlier about even my own experiences, and I know some of you have had, and we observe with students that like this fear of chemistry or how it's too hard or things like that. And obviously there's a lot of different topics that you get into in chemistry, but I also think that it's a lot of fun. And life is challenging, and it should be. But I think that it can be accessible. It's something that our children can enjoy. And the reality is that we want to create opportunities for our children, position them, empower them to be able to choose their own paths. And so please take advantage of this opportunity. So that being said, we do want to invite you out on February 14th at the Cadillac Street Park in Baton Rouge. We'll be doing the lava lamp and a number of other activities during our session from 9 to 11. So again, on the second Saturday, which happens to be February 14th, that'll be an opportunity for you to bring your kids out to the Cadillac Street Park in Baton Rouge. And then on February 21st, we will do it again at the North Street Park in the Mid-City area of Baton Rouge. And so you can visit our website to get more information, but we do ask that you register. Each of our Saturday sessions, we provide a light breakfast for the kids. So we want to make sure we have enough food for those that come out. We had a great time last month at both sessions for AI, had a tremendous turnout. And so please make sure you register now and register early, share it with your family, share it with your friends, so that we can maximize opportunities for young people in our community. This is another way that we can show our children that nothing is beyond their means or nothing is beyond their reach. Too often, we try to put a cap on our children and what they can access or what they have the ability to do. And I think this right here is an opportunity to show our children that nothing is beyond their reach and nothing is beyond their means. And so throughout this podcast this year, we'll often have guests, again, in the youth development space to really kind of help us as a community create more opportunities for our young people. But then we will from time to time have solo podcasts such as this, where we talk about our STEM activities and really try to help parents and our young people understand the pathways that exist for them. And so again, living in Baton Rouge, we've kind of grown up around, and it's fueled our economy, whether it be Exxon, Dow, Georgia Pacific. My dad worked at Georgia Pacific, and so there's a lot of petrochemical type plants up and down the river in South Louisiana. And so there's a ton of opportunities for our young people. And so we want to push them to be able to access those opportunities. We live in a community with a community college with 2 outstanding engineering programs. And so from my mind, there's no reason why our children should not be able to access these opportunities right here at home. But beyond that, as our world continues to get smaller and much more accessible, again, we just want to make sure that every child in our community and communities that we serve have the opportunity to access economic development opportunities wherever they choose to serve. And so even when we talk about chemistry, and I keep using the examples of the petrochemical plants within our own community, but I want us to think outside of the box as well. And so think about the things that our young people are interested in, or think about the things that don't even exist today that can be beneficial by being exposed to chemistry at an early age. So whether we think about cosmetics, whether we think about our food industry, protecting our food industry, whether we think about plastics and other surfaces or hard products that rely on chemistry or chemical engineers and chemists, whether we think about the medical field through pharmacy, surgery, things like of that nature. Chemistry is a huge opportunity, and so we have to stop this fear that exists within our kids about accessing chemistry. And so I would encourage you again, come out either on February 14th or February 21st to learn more about these opportunities, get your kids engaged, look for ways that you can create your own labs at home for your young people, because we don't want our kids to continue to have this fear of STEM. It's accessible, it's fun, it's engaging, and we want our kids to take part in it.